All right, today we are tackling one of the most intense diets out there. We're talking about eating just one meal a day. Sounds pretty crazy, right? But what if it could also be a key to unlocking some pretty amazing health benefits?
Seriously, just think about that for a second. Could you do it? Your entire day's worth of food, all your nutrition, packed into a single meal? It sounds wild, I know. But for a lot of people, this isn't some thought experiment. It's just what they do every single day. So, this extreme diet has a name. It's called OMAD, which, you guessed it, stands for one meal a day. And look, before you write it off as just another crazy internet trend, you gotta know this idea is actually built on thousands of years of human history. I mean, think about our hunter-gatherer ancestors. They didn't have a pantry full of snacks, right? Food was scarce, unpredictable, and our bodies adapted to not just handle that, but to actually thrive on it.
So, that brings us to the big questions, right? How does this even work biologically? And maybe more importantly, is it worth the risk? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Let's dive in and really unpack this whole thing.
Okay, first things first. What exactly is OMAD? It all comes down to a very simple but very demanding framework. We're talking 23 to 1.
Yeah, OMAD is basically the most extreme version of intermittent fasting out there. The rules, super simple, but man, are they strict. You fast for 23 hours straight. We're talking only water, black coffee, nothing with calories. And then you have a 1-hour window to eat all of your calories for the entire day. That's it. 23 hours of fasting, 1 hour of feasting, period.
All right, so what in the world is going on inside your body during that huge 23-hour fast? Let's pop the hood and see what's happening in your body's engine room.
Okay, so check this out. Your body goes on this pretty incredible journey. For the first, say, 12 hours or so, it's kind of business as usual. It's just burning through the sugar it has stored up. That's called glycogen. But this is where it gets interesting. Once you push past that 18-hour mark, things really start to change. The sugar is basically gone, and your body, it flips this metabolic switch. It literally goes from burning sugar for fuel to burning its own fat. This is the beginning of what's known as ketosis.
But wait, it gets even cooler. When your body isn't constantly working to digest food, it finally gets a chance to do something else. It starts cleaning house.
This whole house cleaning thing, it's a process called autophagy, which literally means self-eating. And I love this analogy. Think of your body like a factory. When you're eating all the time, the factory is in growth mode. The assembly line is running nonstop. But when you fast, you shut down production. The factory switches over to repair mode. The maintenance crews come out, they start sweeping up, they recycle old junky parts, and they get everything back in working order. That's autophagy. It's your body's built-in deep cleaning cycle, and it really only kicks into high gear when you give your digestive system a real break.
Okay, that science is fascinating. But let's be real. What does it actually mean for you? Why on earth would anyone choose to do this every day? Well, the potential benefits really stack up into 3 main areas. First up, you've got the metabolic pillar. That long fast can seriously speed up fat loss and make your body way more sensitive to insulin. Then there's the cognitive pillar. Fasting can boost this amazing protein called BDNF. Think of it like fertilizer for your brain cells. It's super important for memory and learning. And finally, the lifestyle pillar. I mean, the simplicity is a huge sell for a lot of people. Think about it. Less time cooking, less money on groceries, and no more agonizing over what to eat for lunch.
Okay, but it's not all sunshine and brain fertilizer. A protocol this extreme comes with some really extreme risks. And we absolutely have to talk about the warning label here.
All right, let's get into the weeds on the risks, because they're serious. First off, just trying to cram an entire day's worth of nutrition into one single hour, it's almost impossible. You can end up with major gaps in vitamins, minerals, and especially protein, which can mean losing muscle. And get this, it's kind of weird. Some people actually see their bad cholesterol go up, even if they're losing weight. And then there's the whole social and psychological side of it. I mean, so much of life happens around food, right? Lunches with coworkers, dinner with family. OMAD can be super isolating. Not to mention, it can lead to a really unhealthy, obsessive focus on that one meal you're allowed to have. And that brings me to something incredibly important. Let me be really clear. This diet is not for everyone. For some people, it is just plain dangerous.
So please listen up. If you're in any of these groups, OMAD is a hard no. We're talking about women who are pregnant, breastfeeding, or even just trying to conceive. This kind of fasting can really mess with reproductive health. It's a complete non-starter for kids and teenagers, for anyone with type 1 diabetes, and absolutely for anyone with a history of eating disorders. Look, OMAD puts a huge amount of stress on the body, and for these groups, the risks just completely blow any potential benefits out of the water.
Okay, so let's say none of that applies to you and you're still curious. Well, every single expert agrees on one thing. Whatever you do not just jump in cold.
You've got to ease into it. Give your body a chance to adapt. So think of it like this. Step 1. For a couple of weeks, just start with a basic 16-8 fast. Eat in an 8-hour window. Once that feels totally normal, move to step 2. Try squeezing that window down to 4 hours. Then, and only then, after a good month of adapting, can you even think about trying a full 23-1 fast. And even then, maybe just start with 2 or 3 days a week, not 7.
And what about that one single meal? Well, it can't just be anything. It has to be engineered like a space mission. Seriously, look at this breakdown. The single most important thing is protein. It's almost half the plate. You're aiming for a solid 100 to 130 grams. Why? To make sure your body doesn't start eating its own muscle for fuel. So yeah, this is not your golden ticket to down a whole pizza every night. This meal needs to be planned out big time.
So we've looked at the science, the potential upsides, the very real dangers. What's the final verdict on OMAD? Where do we land?
I want to show you just one number, 52%. What do you think that is? Well, according to the research, that's the number of people who can actually stick with OMAD long-term, which, if you flip it, means that almost half of the people who try this eventually quit.
And that tells you pretty much everything you need to know, right? For most of us, this is just not a sustainable, forever kind of lifestyle. The challenges, both physically and socially, are just too much. So if it's not a lifestyle, then what is it?
And this, right here, is probably the most important takeaway of all. The best way to think about OMAD is not as some rigid identity you have to adopt forever. Instead, think of it as a highly specialized tool in your health toolbox. Maybe it's something you pull out for a 30-day reset, to break through a weight loss stall or really reset your insulin sensitivity. And then you put the tool away and go back to something more sustainable, like a 16-8 schedule.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. What if this constant search for the one perfect diet for everyone is just a total dead end? What if the real goal isn't finding that one magic bullet, but instead building a whole toolbox of different strategies that you can use for different seasons and different goals all throughout your life?